All right, the purpose of this video is to give you an example of how to complete the next assignment. I'm going to come to this side of the screen and I'm going to create two rectangles. The rectangles are going to be similar. The small rectangle will be a 2 by 5 rectangle and the large rectangle will be 4 by 10. But I'm going to build them in a special way. For every 4 squares that I add to the large rectangle, I'm only going to add 1 square to the small rectangle. So to start with, here we go. I'm building a large rectangle with green squares and I add 4 green squares, but for the small rectangle, I only add 1. Right now, I know for sure that the large rectangle has an area that's 4 times what the area of the small rectangle is. So I continue to build. 4 more for the large rectangle, but only 1 for the small rectangle. I know that the large rectangle has to have an area that's 4 times greater because I added 4 squares and then only added 1 square to the small rectangle. Now I'm going to continue to build. 4 for the large, 1 for the small, 4 for the large, 1 for the small, 4 for the large, and 1 for the small, 4 for the large, and 1 for the small, 4 for the large, and 1 for the small, 4 for the large, only 1 for the small, and finally 4 for the large, 1 for the small, 4 for the large, and 1 for the small. And as I promised, our small rectangle has dimensions 2 by 5, and our large rectangle has dimensions 4 by 10. Now we're going to come over to this side of the screen, and we're going to fill in these ratios. So first, the ratio of the heights. So we can see in the larger rectangle, the height is 4, and in the smaller rectangle, our height is 2. If we reduce that fraction, it reduces to 2 over 1. Now we want to look at the width. Well, the width in the large rectangle is 10, and the width in the small rectangle is 5. And again, if we reduce that fraction, it reduces to 2 over 1. Now we want to look at the perimeters. Well, here it's calculated the perimeter of the large rectangle for us. It's 28. And it will calculate the perimeter of the small rectangle for us, which is 14. And if we reduce 28 over 14, it is also 2 to 1. Well, if the ratio of the heights is 2 to 1, the ratio of the widths is 2 to 1, and the ratio of the perimeter is 2 to 1, then the scale factor is 2 to 1. And we don't really have to reduce 2 to 1, but that's what it would look like. Here's the most important part. What is the ratio of the areas? The area of the large rectangle, it already calculated it for us, is 40. And the area of the small rectangle is 10. And if we reduce 40 over 10, that doesn't reduce to 2 to 1, that reduces to 4 to 1. So this should not be a surprising result. The whole entire time I was building the rectangles, I was adding 4 to the large rectangle for every 1 that I was adding to the small rectangle. So although the heights got doubled, the widths got doubled, the perimeters got doubled, what happened to the area is the area became 4 times as large. So the rule that we're trying to learn in math is that whatever the scale factor is, if you square that, 2 over 1 to the second power is 4 over 1. And that will tell you the ratio of the areas.